Hello and welcome. I'm going for my first real ride on my Big Redbowski. It's a 1949 Monarch. I have a link to a playlist at the end of this video which includes a short that tells how I found out that it is in fact a 1949. And so we start off going up a slight grade here. It takes a little bit of work to get going, as with any single speed if you're heading uphill, but once you develop a little bit of momentum, it's not that bad. Definitely helps that this bike has a 52-tooth front chainring and a 20-tooth rear. I'm not sure how to mathematically calculate ideal ratios. What I do know is that in real life, this works pretty well in most instances. More on that in a bit, though. Now, I have ridden this bike to work a few times, and in fact, coming up on the left here is the place where I work. It's a little general store in the village here. And wow, every time I take the bike to work, it inevitably starts all kinds of conversations. People reminiscing about the bikes that they had when they were kids that were similar to this. And of course, I'm talking about people of a certain age, like myself. But yeah, it's really fun to chat with people. I admit, you get me talking about my bikes, whether it's this or any of the others, and well, that's a rabbit hole you don't want to go down if you catch my drift. So, here we go up a little bit. This is a very slight incline. Goes on for, half a mile or so. And the way I judge the ease of riding a single speed, whether it's this one or a couple of years ago I had a Kent Ridgeland single speed. Anyway, the way I figure out how effective they are in any given situation is whether or not I can ride seated or if I have to get out of the saddle. So I'm really enjoying this bike, but I have discovered that it was repainted, and that's how I found out about the serial number underneath the bottom bracket and so forth. The original color was this really tragically ugly salmon pink. And I'm not going to repaint it that color, but I am going to repaint it. At the moment, I'm leaning towards fire engine red with cream color trim. Although, I kind of like the idea of turquoise and bright white. I don't have to decide right now. I got plenty of time. Now, one thing I have done since the prior video is I swapped out the pedals and the cranks. Here's what happened. I had these pedals that I took off a 76 Huffy parts bike. And I thought, hey, I'll just swap these right in. They're a lot better looking for the age of the bike than these plastic flats that I was using. Well, of course, the axle size was wrong. The stock pedals are 1/2 inch. These are 9/16, like a lot of modern pedals. Now, I really did not want to finagle around and try to somehow adapt these Huffy pedals to the Monarch cranks. I mean, that's just more trouble than it'd be worth, frankly. But I really do not like the looks of these modern plastic flats. So, I went with Plan B, which was actually quite easy, because a lot of these sizes on these old crank sets are standardized. I put the chain ring from the Monarch on the crank set from the Huffy, and Bob's your uncle. Works fine. You'd have to really be quite the purist to find any fault with this. I am not, so I am perfectly happy with it. My goal is to get it functional and looking pretty good. And I think I'm well on the way to that. I haven't decided yet, but I am leaning towards purchasing a reproduction Sella Italia turbo saddle for it, in white of course. Now I've got these repop saddles on my Bianchi road bike that I rebuilt, and I've got one on my Specialized Hard Rock that I rebuilt. It's an old rigid mountain bike. And these saddles, while they may not be exactly age accurate for the cruiser bike, they are really, really comfortable saddles. And at my age, well, comfort is a pretty high priority sometimes. We'll leave it at that. Again, the gearing on this makes bombing along down flats or slight inclines really, really easy. So I'm not putting in a great deal of effort at this point. There's a little bit, though, of, I guess I might describe it as resistance in the steering. Now here's what I noticed. When I put the new caged bearings in the headset, it was a really tight fit. So I'm wondering if the ones that I took out were actually original. I mean, given the age of the thing, it could very well be that those are not what came from the factory. So I think what I'm going to do is buy a bag of loose ball bearings and put them into the headset and see how that works. And I would bet you cash money that it'll be a lot smoother steering. Now we're coming up to the part that I've been looking forward to for a bit, and that is descending a relatively steep hill. This hill, oh my gosh, I hate climbing it in the other direction. It's sufficiently steep that it's not my idea of fun. But I love going down it. And this is just so much fun, and it brings so many memories back to me from when I was a kid and we just flew down the hill in the neighborhood, and without a care in the world or any thought for safety. Whoops! Locked up the brake there for a moment. That's the other thing. I find myself many times on this ride reaching for the non-existent brake lever. And then I remember, oh yeah, this is a coaster brake. You just get so conditioned to the modern setup that this old stuff takes a little bit of relearning. All that said, the brake worked fine. Now the last thing that I'm dealing with here is a fairly long climb. Oh, it's had the better part of 1.25 miles, I think. I never really measured it. And it's not a particularly steep climb, but it is steep enough that you have to work at it on a single speed. And as you can probably tell from all this wibble wobbling going on here, yeah, I am out of the saddle. I often wondered while I was building this bike, how did I manage that hill that I lived on when I was a kid? Oh yeah, now I remember. I walked up it. Yeah, that old Schwinn wasn't geared any better than this Monark. And, well, you know, when you're 10, 11 years old, you may have the enthusiasm, but you don't necessarily have the lower body strength to do that. All in all, I'm really, really pleased with the way this bike has turned out. And this shakedown run was really fun. I enjoyed it. And I hope that you enjoyed me enjoying it. And, gosh, if you did, well, there's a link to a playlist for this bike, lower left. And there's a link to another video, lower right. And as always, all kidding aside, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate that. Goodbye and have a wonderful day.